Hello, viewers. This is Afro Stories. Kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and comment. The Rise and Fall of Pastor Steve. Story time. Part 1. The Boy with the Empty Pulpit. Every great man has a beginning, but not every beginning is clean. Steve began in a dusty town of Ijako, a small forgotten place where churches outnumbered schools and silence often means secret. He was the last child of a broken home. His father, a failed preacher. His mother, who worshipped survival more than she worshipped God. They were poor, not just in money, but in hope. But Steve was different. Even as a boy, there was something in his eyes, something deeper than ambition, something dangerous. He would stand on an old wooden crate behind his mother's store and pretend to preach to no one. Thus said the Lord, he would shout, imitating his father. People would laugh, some would throw coins, but deep down, Steve wasn't playing. He wasn't acting. He believed he was born to speak. But what he didn't know was that the voice that gave him power would one day demand a prize. One rainy Sunday, a guest pastor came to their little town. His name was Prophet Zachariah, a man with a reputation for seeing things. During the altar call, he stopped suddenly, looked around the crowd, and pointed at young Steve, only 13 years old. You, comfort, the prophet said. The crowd parted. Steve walked forward, barefoot and trembling. Prophet Zachariah laid hands on him and whispered to him what no one else heard. But Steve never forgot it. You will be great, but you must be careful. Your tongue will shake nations, but your shadow will try to swallow your soul. No one understood what that meant. Not even Steve. Not yet. At 18, Steve left home. He went to a small Bible college in Ibadan. He wasn't the best student, but he was the loudest, the most charismatic, the most convincing. He began leading campus fellowship, praying all night, prophesying with fire. Soon, people didn't just listen to him, they followed him, and it started. A woman sold her phone to sow a seed. A boy skipped exam to fast for 7 days after Steve said he had seen angels. People believed in him because Steve believed in himself. Or maybe he believed in the power that came with belief. One night, alone in his hostel, Steve prayed, God, make me the greatest man of God in Africa. Then suddenly, his candle went off. The wind slammed the window shut. He fell into a trance, and he swore he heard a voice, not God's voice, something else. It said, you can have it all, but can you pay the price? That was the night Steve changed. He came back to fellowship the next day. His eyes were different. His preaching hit harder. His prophecies became accurate, uncomfortably accurate. Some called it anointing, but a few started to whisper, that boy is too powerful. It's not ordinary. After school, Steve refused job offers. He told everyone God had called him to start a church. With just 7 people and a borrowed speaker, House of Fire Ministries was born. And just like that, the rise began. What Steve didn't know was that every rise eventually invites a fall. The boy with the empty pulpit was now a man building an altar. But what was he truly building it for? God or himself? But in those days, there was no sign of a fall. House of Fire Ministries was barely 2 weeks old when the first miracle happened. A woman came in with her son. The boy hadn't spoken since birth. Steve laid his hands on him, prayed in tongues. The boy looked up and said, Mama. The entire room screamed. The woman fainted, and by the next Sunday, the hall couldn't contain the crowd. People stood outside the sun just to hear him preach. He didn't have speakers or screens, just his voice, and that fire in his eyes. They brought sick people from nearby hospitals. Some claimed they were healed instantly. Whether it was fate or something else, Steve's name started to spread. Some posted the clip online. Young Nigerian pastor heals a mute boy. The video went viral. Steve's inbox flooded. Prayer requests, invitations, sponsorship offers. But something strange began to happen too. Women, they started coming in numbers, not for healing, but for the man of God himself. Young, stylish ladies, well dressed, sweet smelling, waited to see him after service. They said they needed special counseling. Some knelt to greet him, others called him Daddy. He smiled politely, but inside he felt something dangerous rising: ego, lust, and power. One night, after a powerful service, Steve sat alone in front of his mirror. The applause still echoed in his head. He looked at his reflection and whispered, I was made for this. Then paused and said it again, louder. I was made for this. That same night, he got a call from an old friend from Bible school. Bro, Steve, I watched your video. You are blowing, oh. Steve laughed, but the friend wasn't calling to celebrate. Please be careful, he said. You are entering a place few can come out clean. Steve nodded but brushed it off. Even as the ministry grew, Steve was secretly struggling. No salary, no sponsors yet, but the crowd expected miracles every week. So he began to encourage giving, sow seeds, prophet offering. If you want to assess your destiny, he would say, tie a seed to it. And people gave. Some gave out of desperation, some gave out of blind loyalty. And Steve, he began to enjoy the power that came with it. One of the church workers, a lady named Sarah, has been there from day one. She admired Steve deeply, respected him, believed in him. One evening after service, she stayed behind to help him lock up. They laughed, talked, got too close. Nothing happened. But in that moment, Steve felt something shift again. Not outwardly, internally. A door opened. That night, Steve had a dream. He was standing on a mountain top. Below him, thousands chanted his name. A voice said, all this I will give you if you bow. He turned, expecting to see Jesus, but instead he saw a shadow wearing his own face. Steve woke up, sweating. He didn't tell anyone. But who would believe him? That was the greatest threat of his calling. Was he himself? Steve rose up quickly, too quickly, from a barefoot market boy to a man of God with a following. But speed isn't always progress. Not every fire comes from heaven. They called it a revival, but it was fire, a wildfire. House of Fire Ministry was no longer a church. It was a phenomenon. People weren't just coming for sermons anymore. They came to see the man they called General, God's General, Prophet Steve. It started in a small gathering in a rented room. But by the third month, people were sitting on cars outside just to hear his voice. And that voice had become a force. When he spoke, people trembled. When he prayed, they fell under the power. To them, Steve wasn't just a preacher. He was the evidence that God still moved among men. Testimonies flooded in like rain. A woman told the crowd her womb has been opened after 10 years. Another claimed she was healed of cancer just by touching his handkerchief. People believed, shared the videos online, and overnight, Steve became an internet sensation. Thanks for watching. Watch out for part 2.